open defecation to attain 2025 target. Experts attribute rising incidents of violence against women to COVID-19, sue for collective global efforts to stop escalation. Plus, House of Representatives commences process of constitution review with capacity building for lawmakers. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 disease, emerging data, especially from those in the front line fighting against the pandemic, shows that violence against women and girls, particularly domestic violence, has been on the rise. Achibongbasi reports that experts describe rising incidents of violence against women as a shadow pandemic amidst the COVID-19 crisis, while suing for collective global efforts to stop further escalation.
The United Nations Secretary-General's Declaration on Unite to End Violence Against Women campaign, a multi-year effort, aims at preventing and eliminating violence against women and girls. Orange the world. Fund, respond, prevent, collect is a theme for International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls 2020.
They are also working towards ensuring that livelihood is provided in the work plan.
We have created linkages where we can get all services for one survivor.
There's a lot of awareness created. People are more comfortable reporting cases.
As violence against women and girls continues to be an obstacle to achieving equality, development, peace, as well as the fulfillment of human rights of women and girls, the promise of sustainable development goals to leave no one behind may be far from fulfillment if there is no end to violence against women and girls. In Calabar, Achibongbasi, NTA News.
Now joining me live via Zoom in Abuja to sustain the conversation on violence against women is the President Medical Women International Association, Dr. Eleanor Nwadinobi. Dr. Nwanobi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's go straight to the point. What is your reaction going by President Muhammadu Buhari's committal pronouncement towards accelerating genuine efforts at achieving gender equity in the country?
I am truly elated. It is fabulous news for Nigerian women in particular and Nigerians as a whole. It means that we have liftoff with our twin engines fully working. That was a huge commitment for equality, realizing that you need your men and women to participate in development. I'm also elated at the huge commitment by President Buhari to women led by the Minister for Women's Affairs today to bring an end to child marriage, to bring an end to violence against women and girls. President Buhari committed today to started this program, your colleague spoke about the 16 days of activism. Yes, this is a time for heightened awareness to bring an end to violence. However, the 16 days are not limited to the 16 days. 365 days of the year, we should have at the top of our minds respect and dignity for humanity, for one another, and for our women and girls.
Now, in your capacity as president of Medical Women International Association, what is your word of caution to the public?
My word of caution to the public is respect every human being. We need a whole of government and a whole of society approach. When we have a global treaty, that will mean that we will have a binding norm to which every nation on earth will ensure that the interventions that work, which are reforming our laws, ensuring that responders are appropriately trained, that we have adequate services, that there's prevention, education, and exactly as Mr. President said today, there needs to be appropriate funding. No longer should our women and girls be violated.
Well,
we need to break stigma, silence. We need to break the culture of impunity and bring perpetrators and predators to book.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Elano. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on NT International. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, that was Dr. Elano Nwadinobi, the President of Medical Women International Association. And now moving on, President Muhammadu Buhari has reaffirmed the commitment of his administration towards supporting and accelerating genuine efforts at achieving gender equity in the country. And consequently, the 35% national gender policy will not only be met, but exceeded across key decision-making roles in government. The president was speaking at an audience with a group of Nigerian women representatives on the solidarity visit. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the report.
The Nigerian women representatives, led by the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talent, were in the State House to confer on President Muhammadu Buhari as special
of Nigeria. You play a critical role in bringing about lasting peace. I urge you to engage with our children and youth on the need for dialogue that will yield better understanding going forward. Our youth remain our most treasured asset, and it is our collective responsibility to present to them a pathway to realizing their huge potential.
President Buhari described as delightful that his administration's zero tolerance for gender-based violence, as well as declaring a state of emergency on that, has placed Nigeria ahead in providing support for survivors and bringing perpetrators to book. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And I await gender issues with the centrality of a good sanitation and hygiene to other sectors of the society. Nigeria must scale up effort and expand the dragnet of collaboration to make the country free of open defecation and attain the 2025 target. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was encouraging stakeholders as the country commemorates the first anniversary of the national campaign against open defecation, tagged Clean Nigeria, Use the Toilet. WASH correspondent Musbaudan Wahab reports.
The logo of the Clean Nigeria End Open Defecation campaign.
November 19, 2019 was the official expression of commitments to end the practice of 47 million Nigerians that has adversely put Nigeria in global sports, open defecation. A year later, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo again continues from where he left off the national campaign. COVID-19 slowdown notwithstanding, it's got a marginal progress to report as 22 more LGAs have cleaned up their terrains of open defecation, and the competition is on course amongst the states to attain the national target of 2025, 5 years ahead of a sustainable development agenda.
We reiterate commitment to support subnational level initiatives towards ending open defecation and improving access to wash services for the populace. To this end, I wish to commend state governments who have taken the initiative to develop their state-specific action plans for the wash sector, with a declaration of a state of emergency.
In recognition of their commitment, the ODF local government areas will be prioritized for water supply interventions under PWASH in accordance with the established program protocol.
We are partnering with NYSC.
Still on the line to deliver its promise of getting 2 million Nigerians in diaspora to build a toilet each in the country, the organized private sector in WASH has again launched a campaign tagged Flush It to support the drive. The certified open defecation-free LGAs were honored, and NTA is one of the organizations recognized for their role in the national campaign.
Any program the government brings up for the benefit of the populace, NTA is always at the forefront of propagation, of enlightenment and promotion.
We are the only state that has 10 local government that will declare open kasha.
Marginal achievements or bids and champions made in the campaign against open defecation in Nigeria. However, the country remains the world capital of this practice. And so there is a need for a re-energized commitment by stakeholders to confine the unwanted reputation in the Soke way. In Abuja, Musbao and Wahab, NC News.
You're watching the news on Inter International. We'll take a short break now. The news continues in a moment. Do stay with us.
The Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, cordially invites all stakeholders to the 8th National Council on Communications and Digital Economy meeting. Theme: Leveraging Digital Economy Policies and Strategies for Economic Recovery in a COVID-19 Era and Beyond. Date: Friday 27th November to Tuesday 1st December 2020. Venue: Imo Trade and Investment Center, New Owerri, Imo State. Time: 9 a.m. daily. Announcer is Stephanos Musa Fuktur, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. A digital economy for a digital Nigeria.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
You're welcome back. The Senate Committee on the Independent National Electoral Commission has screened the presidential nominee for the chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that Professor Mahmood Yakubu is optimistic of an improved general election in 2023, as he emphasized that the Electoral Commission will deepen the use of technology in Nigeria's electoral process.
A solidarity visit to the National Assembly by a group just few hours to the commencement of the screening of Professor Mahmood Yakubu by the Senate as INEC chairman for a second term. His reappointment was the reason for the group's visit, describing it as the right choice by President Muhammadu Buhari as they called on the Senate to take cognizance of the achievements of the INEC chairman nominee.
With me today are leaders of political parties under the auspices of Coalition of Nigerian Political Parties. Ever since Professor Mahmood Yakubu came into INEC, there have been a lot of reforms. If not for anything, consider electronic transmission, electronic voting, and transmission of result from polling unit to to central server.
1 hour later, Professor Mahmood was at the Senate Committee on INEC to defend his reappointment for a final term of 5 years. Having reeled out some of the achievements of the commission under his watch, The University of Oxford research scholar listed his plans going forward and how the National Assembly can assist, such as the quick passage of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill by the first quarter of 2021.
Because we know there are so many other lingering problems that need to be done. What do you intend to do before you finally go out from the election institution?
But the key to success is the amendment to the electoral legal framework. And I'm confident that the Senate and the House will work expeditiously.
He observed that the postponement of the 2019 general election was the most challenging moment in his first term. The committee harped on the need for a review of political parties' registration process and improvement of the welfare of staff of the commission to avoid inducement.
These are the people that goes for election, and they could easily be motivated during election days. But if their welfare is improved, I'm sure they will be strong and continue to service well.
Professor Abdullahi Abduzuru was also screened as INEC National Commissioner representing the Northwest. He replaces Abubakar Ahmed Nahuche, who resigned from the position. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
As fears for the second wave of COVID-19 heightened across the world with rising number of cases and casualties, intervention support to curb widespread of the pandemic in high-risk countries has been sustained through efforts of intervention partners. This necessitated the support of National Lottery Trust Fund in the areas of non-pharmaceutical supplies to increase capacity response of federal government in containing upsurge of the virus. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
Benefit of the people of Nigeria.
Another consignment of personal protective equipment to tackle
2016 election. Meanwhile, the United Nations says urgent relief aid is needed for 3 million Syrian refugees, saying the recent rains in northern Syria have damaged hundreds of tents in displacement sites. A third of the displaced Syrians, estimated at 6.7 million refugees, lack adequate shelter and essentials for the cold weather. And Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said the Ethiopian military will begin the final phase of an offensive in northern Tigray region. He added that the military will try not to harm civilians and urged people in the city to stay at home. And that ends this segment. I am Joyce Ometu.
And now let's look at health, where the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, is intensifying efforts at ensuring everyone gets tested for HIV. As part of activities to mark the 2020 World AIDS Day, the agency moved its train to Abuja Area Council of the AFCT to reach out to the locals and seek the support of the traditional institution in the struggle to end HIV in Nigeria. Uche Ogochukwu tells us more.
Just as it is with COVID-19, knowing the HIV status of the citizenry is a milestone in ending the challenges associated with it. NACA's advocacy visit to the owner of Abuja and the flag off of HIV testing and introduction of self-testing are other ways to further reduce the prevalence of HIV and fast-track the attainment of the 1990 targets.
You don't know who has the disease until you go for tests, and the earlier you go for the test, the better for you.
With awareness, that fear and that anxiety should be removed. You can do it.
Nigeria's theme, United to End HIV in the Midst of COVID-19, Get Tested, aims to solidify the progress made so far in eliminating HIV by 2030, irrespective of COVID-19. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
And now let's look at sports, where the Tigers begin 2021 Afro-Basket qualifiers on good note. And Ayodeji Makinde has more on sports update.
Minister of Youth and Sports Development Sunday Dare says the National Sports Festival has not been postponed indefinitely, but assures stakeholders are brainstorming with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 before the fiesta is held in Edo State.
We're just trying to decide on the date that makes sure that both our athletes and the conditions put in place can be met and fulfilled.
Meanwhile, a convergence of administrators and experts have called for improved welfare for athletes and infrastructure management at a colloquium to mark the 2020 FCT Swan Week in Abuja with the theme, New Sports Policy, Emerging Opportunities for the Sporting Media in a Changing World.
A lot of these players were discovered during the National Youth Games. Today, they are now beginning to be champions in their clubs.
In basketball, Nigeria's D Tigers secured a 76-56 points victory over South Sudan in their first game in Group D of 2021 Men's Afro-Basket qualifiers ongoing in Kigali. Caleb Agada led the team with 16 points as Nigeria next play hosts Rwanda on Saturday before taking on Mali on Sunday. Tributes have continued to pour in for football legend Diego Maradona, who died of cardiac